All right, good evening and welcome to Matters Arising on KAFTAN TV. I'm Chukunalu AK. We examine tonight we examine tonight the power crisis despite billions of naira that has been sunk into that sector in the last 27 years of our democracy. Nigerians' electricity crisis remains a major challenge despite more than a decade of power sector privatization. Introduced in 2013 to improve efficiency and attract investment, the reform transferred generation and distribution assets to private operators. However, unreliable power supply, inadequate metering, energy theft, and weak infrastructure continue to affect service delivery. A key problem is the disconnect between generation, transmission, and distribution. Even when electricity generation increases, transmission constraints often prevent adequate power from reaching consumers, leading to frequent outages. The sector also faces financial difficulties, while government subsidies help cushion electricity costs. Critics argue that they contribute to liquidity challenges and limit investment in critical infrastructure. To address these issues, the federal government introduced the National Integrated Electricity Policy, aimed at improving reliability, expanding access, encouraging private investment, and promoting renewable and off-grid energy solutions. Ultimately, the success of this reform will depend on effective implementation, strong regulation, adequate funding, and accountability across the electricity value chain. But before we examine the issue tonight, let's have a watch of this report.
For decades, electricity has remained one of Nigeria's most persistent development challenges. Despite abundant energy resources and repeated reforms, millions of Nigerians continue to grapple with unreliable power supply, frequent blackouts, and rising energy costs. In 2013, the federal government embarked on a landmark reform by privatizing the power sector. The expectation was that private investment would improve efficiency, expand access, and deliver stable electricity capable of driving economic growth and industrial development. 13 years later, however, many Nigerians are still asking whether those promises have been fulfilled. Across homes, businesses, hospitals, and industries, inadequate power supply remains a major obstacle. Millions of households rely on reliable generators, while businesses spend enormous sums on alternative energy sources, increasing the cost of goods and services and slowing economic growth. Take two, the minister says, while Nigerians should not expect an immediate transformation, noticeable improvements are already being recorded in electricity supply across parts of the country.
I said it during my Senate confirmation that I'm not promising a magic wand. I'm not promising 24 hours, 7 days a week power. We will get there ultimately. But what I promised Nigerians was that we'll see visible improvement. And I can tell you, Nigerians have been giving me feedback. In the last 4 weeks, power supply has improved across Nigeria. And this is due to the push by the president, and the power is put behind me, and also the commitment of our people in the Ministry of Power and all the agencies. For the last 4 weeks after my confirmation, I had engaged various key stakeholders in the sectors: TCN, Ministry of Power, REA, NEC, everybody. And they've given commitments. And that is what you are seeing today with improvement. And what we will do as much as possible is to ensure that consistency and improvement over the next couple of months. Nigerians should please bear with us.
He insists that the government remains committed to ensuring consistency in power delivery and addressing long-standing challenges that have plagued the sector for years. Yet, despite these assurances, stakeholders continue to raise concerns about liquidity shortage, inadequate metering, energy theft, aging infrastructure, and weak regulatory enforcement.
Joining me to unpack this is Tochukwu Okorie, a media consultant and public affairs analyst. Welcome to Matters Arising, Tochukwu.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Now,
good evening, viewers.
Yes, over the years, you know, like I said in my introduction, we've been having power challenge in the country. And I remember when Minister Bola Ige, he was coming in, he said he's going to turn stone to water, or he's going to extract water from water or something like that. Yes, that he's going to perform but the current minister says he's not going to perform it. He doesn't have the magic wand. What I am asking you tonight is, why is it that, to what extent can Nigerians' power crisis be attributed to policy failure rather than implementation failure? Is it policy? Because when you talk of a policy over the years, from NEPA, I grew up seeing NEPA, then from NEPA transformed to the PACM, then by 2023 they dismantled the whole thing, and that is policy framework. But the implementation, and we've been having that problem on our own. Is it our problem in the power sector? Is it policy, implementation, or formulation?
It is both ways. In my view, in my considered view, once again, I want to greet the viewers. In my considered view, let me quickly give a disclaimer that I'm not an expert in electricity, weather generation, or not an expert in power. I'm a public affairs analyst.
Yes.
And I'm going to speak generally to what I consider are the issues. And in my view, the challenge with electricity in Nigeria is multi-dimensional. It is both policy-related in terms of policy formulation and implementation, but it also has to do with our character as Nigerians. I mean, very, very frequently you hear people say Nigeria has happened to me.
That
is a serious discredit.
Yeah, it's a recent lingo now among the Gen Zs.
Yeah, it has entered our parlance.
Yes.
And that is a damning a recommendation on Nigeria. That is a Nigerian saying that Nigeria happening to you cannot be positive. Nobody, you can't hear somebody say Nigeria has happened to me
in a positive way.
It means that he has grown, or come out of where he used to be. Yeah. So it's always negative. Somebody is kidnapped, say Nigeria has happened to me. Somebody is scammed of money, say Nigeria has happened to me. Somebody gets involved in a road crash, Nigeria has happened to me.
Hospital,
Nigeria has happened to
get
me.
admission.
So it is not just the issue with policy framework, but also our character as Nigerians. Then it brings me to the point that I think it was Sani Abacha that said a nation cannot produce leaders different from its people.
Yes.
I mean, every leader is taken from amongst the people. Somebody has grown through the system. So when leaders are formulating policies, they are doing so as Nigerians. The people implementing the policy are doing so as Nigerians. So there is that Nigerianness, Nigerian element.
What we usually call Nigerian factor.
The Nigerian factor, which borders essentially on the negatives, like we said, corruption, dereliction, nepotism. I mean, you being a journalist could be brought to manage a power station, for example, just because your brother is the minister. That's nepotism.
Like we had in Fashola being a lawyer and becoming the minister of power.
Power, works, and all of those things. Yeah. And that's a very good example. That's an anecdote that should be referred to more frequently, because if you compare that era to this era where the Minister of Power of Works, for example, is a civil engineer, you see even the civil service structure in that ministry will tell you that there is a difference. There's a complete
I would like to compare.
No.
Sorry. I would like to compare Fashola's regime with Bath in Nigeria. You can see great improvement. I think during the Bath in Nigeria time, you see policies, you see a lot of frameworks that are coming in from that ministry.
Of course.
But when Fashola was there, we were just hearing English and
English, and that's a very good example again. So going back to the issue of policy, one, you itemized or you reeled out a number of policies. Government. There came this dispensation when we began to say that government had no business being in business. So privatization, in fact, the Obasanjo era was an era of massive privatization, of public
businesses and enterprises.
And all of that. Now, dovetailing into what we now have today, AEDC, EEDC, Ibadan distribution, and all of that. Then we have a generation company, and then we have a transmission company, and all of that. Now, so the challenge, for example, let me bring up a recent issue in that sector. Not too long ago, the generation company complained bitterly that they had power that they had generated but was not evacuated.
Yes.
Because the distribution companies were not evacuating them. And then the distribution company came up and said, oh, we can only buy what we can sell.
But is it not ironical when we have about 85 million Nigerians who does not have access to, who are not connected to the national grid? And the transmission, the distribution, GENCO, generating companies, I say we have access, but we can't distribute. It's not, so that means something is fundamentally wrong.
That is where we have a policy gap. That is where we have a policy gap. We have, I stand to be corrected, we have installed capacity for generation totaling somewhere around
10,000 megawatts.
No, more than that, about 14 to 15,000 megawatts of electricity. Okay? Now, but we are distributing just between 4 and 5,000.
Sometimes
1,000.
Yes.
Fluctuating between 4 and 5,000 megawatts. So you see wastage. And that's not, this is what is generated. I think the installed capacity is more than that. That is to say, if we bring all the facilities, all the infrastructure to work, we will be generating way in excess of 20 megawatts. I'm sure
20,000 megawatts.
20,000 megawatts.
Yes.
I'm sure of that. But as it stands, there are idle capacities here and there. And even the ones that are being utilized in generation of power, that much that is generated is not evacuated. Now, that's one part of it. Then one expert will tell you, look, if you put more than 5,000 megawatts on this so-called national grid, it collapses.
Yeah. So what stops the government from...
So then you now ask yourself, how the heck do other nations do it? How do they do it? And secondly, must there be a national grid? Must there be a grid that, must the grid be national? Now, again, talking about policy, I'm aware that there's been some sort of decentralization of generation.
Yes.
Now, but then this grid thing, how do people get, how does power get to the end user? What is national grid? those are some terms that I am unable to come to terms with.
Now, I'll give you let me give you an example of that national grid that, like in my community, Okpai, my community is close to Okpai in Delta State, and that place generates about 400 megawatts. Is one of these oil companies that owns it. But I can tell you that in the last 20 years, my community does not have light. And they have to take this light straight to Onitsha to be stepped down, connecting it to national grid. And other cities will have light. But those people from Indokwa East and Indokwa West and Okwani local government does not have light in the last 20 years.
Now, okay.
Yeah. So now I think that is where they now talk about national grid. When you generate, you put it to
exactly. That's where the question of policy. That's where, because these things can be managed better. If my community uses charcoal, for example, or other forms of coal, or other, maybe we have very fast-moving water and we're able to dam it and do whatever, or there is a lot of sun and we're able to develop solar, system of generating power. Why are we unable to step it down for the use of that community and the surrounding communities? Why is it impossible for a state to be able to have power infrastructure that would enable them both to generate and step down for the consumption of that state?
But the Bola Tinubu administration has given them that concurrent list for states.
That's the point I was making. I am aware that in terms of generation, now, but in terms of evacuation, you still have that national,
yes,
permit my language, national nonsense. All right? Because when you talk about national grid, every day we hear national grid has collapsed. Okay, it's back up the next day, and then 2 days later, we are back to national grid. For goodness sake. What happens to state grids, even local government grids? Because the truth is that given the framework, the legal and other frameworks, okay, oil companies, international IOCs, yes, IOCs actually generate power.
Yes.
And there are other manufacturing entities that generate power from their wastes, both liquid, sludge, and other forms of waste. I'm told that rice husks,
yes,
could be used to generate electricity. And there are companies doing just that. Now, their challenge is that they generate, even if it is 0-point-something megawatts, they have no way to take it except to take it to somewhere where it will be stepped down into the national grid.
And the law, one of our policies that as individual, you can't sell electricity. So let's assume that I can come up as a business. Let me generate not even up to 1 megawatt and sell it to my community. And they pay me for doing that because I also spend money to generate electricity. But you must have to apply for license before you can do that.
No, that's not a problem for me.
No, but it's huge for you to get license.
That's a problem.
Yes.
Now, how much does the license cost? But that's even a step in the right direction. Okay. That somebody is able to get a license at all is good news. All right? Because I know that Rural Electrification Agency, for example, they work with certain individual companies that somehow, generate electricity and then have a way of distributing it within the localities from where that electricity is generated. There's a policy like that.
Yes,
I know there's someone I know,
okay,
who had worked with REA, the Rural Electrification Agency, on this framework, and I think his power infrastructure is up and running and is distributing.
No, but those ones are to just on the lights, the bulbs, and
but
we cannot really power our industry.
That's a step in the right direction. If your community is able to power its light, and mine is able to power light, and all the communities are able to do same, that frees the bulk energy, the bulk electricity for industrial use. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, give them space, more space.
The industrial community can leverage on what is left. So whatever is being generated, the bulk that is being generated, can then be used for industrial purposes. But that's even theoretical. That's highly theoretical. But in any case, the argument I'm making here is that the policy gap is a situation where you allow states to generate, but they don't have the infrastructure to step it down after generating and consume strictly within their state. Enugu and Ebonyi share, they are close together. But I'm saying that Enugu is blessed with coal, and Ebonyi is not. If Enugu is capable of harnessing the coal resources within its territory and generating electricity therefrom, why must Enugu put that electricity on national grid to be distributed across, or wait for AEDC or Enugu distribution yes, or to come and evacuate? It's absurd. It's a whole lot of absurdity for me.
No, maybe the policy makers.
Now that's where that's the policy I'm talking about. That's the policy gap I'm talking about. The policy should be able to create a leeway for a community to be able to generate electricity and use it. Use it. So now I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert in this sector, but the little information at my disposal is that it's not possible. Perhaps, maybe it is, I don't know. For you, just like you described, you can generate the electricity, but then to evacuate it, you have to go to Onitsha from Ndokwa.
Yes, you go to Onitsha, they take it to Onitsha.
You know, and then
so our people now are now fighting for stepped down within the locality.
There should be infrastructure. Now, if you ask that oil company that is generating, they probably don't have the legal framework.
No. Theirs is to just generate.
Do you understand? The legal system probably does not allow them, the law does not allow them to step down.
Yes.
The law requires that they will take it to Onitsha.
Onitsha, yes.
That is the policy gap.
Yes.
That's the policy gap.
Correct.
That's the policy gap there. Now, that is one aspect of the problem. Then the dishonesty of consumers is a different thing. Okay, before I go there, now the distribution companies, they have this argument, and I buy it in 100% in totality, that I'm a businessman and I cannot buy goods that I cannot sell. I will not buy goods that I cannot sell. Or I buy goods and then I take it to a location where I'm fully aware that nobody in that locality has the capacity to buy. For example, I sell luxury cars, Rolls Royce, what are these sports cars? Escalade and all this Bugatti, blah, blah, blah. Those
Ferrari.
Are Ferrari. Those are the brands I deal with. My brother, I'm selling these cars and I'm taking it to Ndokwa or Kwani. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I go and set up a shop there. Who in that locality am I expecting to come and buy? Why wouldn't I bring those kind of cars to Abuja or Lagos?
You won't even see roads to drive such a car in that community.
Precisely. So that is similar to what distribution companies are saying. Abuja, even in Abuja, maybe a place like Abaji or Kwale.
Yangoji,
all those places, they don't have capacity to buy energy, to buy electricity at the price I want to sell it. So why would I carry my electricity to them? I'm not a humanitarian company. Electricity is not charity.
No, because the way we structure it.
Now, it's not charity anywhere in the world. There is no, you pay with, in fact, you cannot default one day in electricity in UK, for example,
yeah, sure.
or anywhere in the world. Electricity is not charity. So the question then is, who caters for those, that population, that population of those who are unable to be in so-called band A, for example, or B. Now you take electricity to Giri or what, Yangoji, what did they call them?
Yes,
and then you find out that you supply so much megawatts or kilowatts of electricity to a particular transformer, expecting return. So much return in terms of revenue. And then that electricity is depleted, and then you don't have any money to show for it. People have stolen it. Why? Because they genuinely cannot afford to pay. So they find ways to give themselves the comfort of electricity without paying for it.
So now, are you not saying in this case now, is it as a result of honesty from Nigerians, for Nigerians to start stealing? Because that is energy theft, stealing from discos, or just that, just Nigerian thing that, okay, is government should provide this for us because we grew up seeing government giving us NEPA and we don't care.
Both are correct. We have a propensity to being dishonest because our minds have been conditioned through years and years of endemic corruption. So the average Nigerian mind is corrupted from cradle. From cradle. Quote me anywhere. From cradle.
Wow.
Yes. Because even as low as primary school, parents teach their children to cheat.
Subtly or?
Overtly. And sometimes covertly. Do you get the point? Parents aid their children in exams.
Even with this energy theft.
Now, I'm just trying to tell you that these things begin from cradle. So a child grows up knowing that life works through shortcuts. Okay? So is that the person you expect to be completely honest with buying electricity, especially when he is not so abundantly placed in life, where life has not, placed him very well. So now that is one aspect of it, okay? But then there is the public dimension. In other words, government side of the blame, because this population also needs to be catered for.
Sure.
The truth is that we all of us cannot afford electricity at this cutthroat rate that it is being sold today. Before today, like you were referencing, electricity was subsidized significantly,
yeah,
and so on. So by the time privatization happened, and private people took over the distribution, you can no longer subsidize energy. So
well, they are still subsidizing. In recent time, we heard them saying that they subsidize electricity in tens of billions, and we are still paying for exorbitant bills. If the person is unlucky not to have meters, you hear estimated billing.
So now there is the infrastructure gap, power infrastructure gap, and then there is metering gap, there is a distribution gap, there is all kinds of gaps. These are places where government needs to come in, where policy needs to come in. For example, you are talking about this transmission. something has to be done, and it's not. And as we speak, the transmission company of Nigeria is, I think, it's 100% owned by government.
Yes, it's government, 100%.
100% owned by government. So why will government be unable to solve the issue of transmission? This issue of national grid, why is it intractable? Why is it, defying solution?
Is there a way? Because I'm also seeing that probably because the distribution company has monopoly in each region they are covering, or cities or states they are covering. Like the distribution company covering my area where I come from. I think they cover Ondo, Edo, Delta, like that. And you see same story within that local, because they have monopoly. Nobody else is competing. Is there a way that, in your own thinking as a Nigerian, maybe we should also like 2 or 3, yes, I know they are going to build their own infrastructure, whereby you can choose who to connect to. Maybe that will solve our problem.
That is where in your introduction you talked about the will. That is a political will. That's where it comes to play. Before 1999 or 2000, we were treating NITEL like a baby, like egg.
Massaging.
NITEL was like, and then telephone was a status symbol.
Yes.
If you went to any home and you saw telephone,
yes,
then you knew exactly where to place that family. You saw a telephone box, even the one that you would have to turn around and around and around, and then you know that this is a middle class, at least a middle class family. Mm. So NITEL became like something that the big men were carrying. Like, it took one man's courage, and that wasn't the first time, okay, that GSM had been proposed. GSM had been in existence for over a decade. Mm. All right. I think it was General Sani Abacha that made the first move to liberalize that sector.
Yes, correct.
Okay, before President Obasanjo now took it to the next level and all of that. I've said that to illustrate what can happen in this power sector that we're talking about. Now...
Okay, excuse me, sir. Let me pick this call.
Okay.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, my friend.
Yes, sir. I greet you, sir. My pastor from Ebonyi State. Am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay, can you tell us your name and your thought on this show?
I waited, and I know some other friends are waiting because you may continue talking on the time expires.
Yeah, okay.
From what you are talking there, yes. I love the topic.
Thank you, sir.
The first thing I want to say, from what you said, that corruption has entered into our marriage. And we are not willing and ready to stop the corruption or to kill the corruption, because whatever thing that has beginning must have an end. If a sickness catches somebody and is interested to cure that sickness, you must make sure that that sickness is handled very well. How can corruption leave Nigeria when the executives or the leaders of Nigeria put it on air and make it real that no matter the crime they committed, if you join my party or if you become my friend, your sin is covered? Now, everybody see that. See, the leaders can cover any manner of corruption.
Corruption.
It is right. Corruption is no longer seen as an evil thing. That is why anything can go. If you can cheat even your mother and survive, no problem. The executive has covered you. But if we have leaders that can put fear in people's lives and say, if you do this thing, I tell you, people will change overnight. I know what happened at is it Ghana or South Africa? Some years ago, Ghana ran to Nigeria or something. But when things change, all those bad week, then power will come.
All right.
It's simple. Executives are living abroad. None of them are here. Their family is not here. For example, you will say governor. Is living at Abuja. His family is at abroad. He don't know what people are suffering. How can he know the pains of the people he's living? These are leaders even from the local government chairman to the president, are not living in Nigeria. They have anything they want. How can they know what? That's your man there made a great comment. From 1970s, 80s, 90s, when we have a NEPA, where is that NEPA? He said that power is not charity. Road will not be charity now. When we apply on road, we pay.
All right. Okay, you've made your point, sir. Let me just go.
The reason of electricity is the cause of poverty in Nigeria, because even there's herbal, weather, and so on and so forth. Handwork people are used that need that thing, and they can no longer help themselves in buying generator or fueling it. That's why they enter into kidnapping and whatever to survive.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
And you tell me that we will survive when we know the right thing to do, and we are not even willing to do it. Let all of us come to Nigeria and live, and we will see all of the things. If you are giving Senate or whatever, you transfer your family abroad, where things are going on.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Well, now, he made a point about impunity in our
public sector,
in the public sector, even in the private sector. Now, the Nigerians, we can do a lot of things now. As Nigeria, I'm talking like in Nigeria now. Not a lot of things happens, and we go away with it without. You see, like we talk of energy theft. I was in one African country, and I say in the day, the person hosting me for that period, we off all the lights during the day, and in the night he will just put it on for everybody. Once it's morning, he will off it. He said because of the cost of paying for that, and so he does not want anybody to. They don't own their fridge, they don't own their freezers, just because of the cost, and they don't. Let me use the local parlance. No, I don't think he cannot try to say, let me, bypass the meter.
Do the shortcut.
Shortcut, because he knows that the law will catch up with him. But here in Nigeria, a lot of people do that. And
okay, let me take on the last thing he said about electricity being charity.
Yes.
Now, he contradicted himself in terms by saying that leaders take their children and family to countries where these things work.
Yes.
Now, those countries where these things work, they pay bills.
Sure.
They pay bills. Any Nigerian living abroad, our guests should be listening now, ask that person, what is the most challenging part of your stay abroad?
It's energy cost.
Energy costs and other bills.
Yes.
You must pay your bills. You don't have a small window for default.
Yes.
You must pay your bills as and when due. Otherwise, you go to jail.
Yes.
Not just that you are disconnected, you are charged with fraud.
Now, we've had cases of where even NEPA, no, not NEPA officials, distribution companies go, we are used to NEPA, so forgive me for that. Distribution companies go to some military barracks to disconnect them because they are not paying. And you see it, we've read it in the news in the past, and they will beat them up.
Exactly.
Is that not impunity?
Exactly. Now it comes down to, let me now come back to what our caller said earlier. The truth is that this thing built up. Like I told you, there was a time in this country. Okay, let me start by saying we have a country that I describe as a nation of no consequence. That's the way I like to describe Nigeria, as a nation of no consequence. You can do anything and get away with it. You want to find out if I'm telling the truth, just go to Wuse Market or go to drive around Abuja. You see people beating traffic, and traffic warden, traffic police is sitting and, in fact, collecting maybe...
Or follow one way, drive against the traffic.
Against the traffic. Nothing happens. You see police everywhere. Nothing happens. In a city like Abuja, such that if, I have said this over and over and over again, if I were to be, don't even minister, maybe management or AMMC or whatever it is called.
Abuja,
the Abuja Metropolitan Management Committee. Or if I head that committee, look, you cannot come to an intersection and you are going left and then you are driving in another lane,
yes,
and then you are struggling to because you are now there. My brother, you will go straight and I will see to it. Now, there are so many things that are wrong, but let's not, if we go that route, I mean, it's a story we are all familiar with. So
the society now is a reflection of what is happening in the energy sector, in the power sector.
I started from that angle, that Nigeria, people get leaders from among themselves. Now, and I was going to say that there was a time in this country that you see a civil servant, you know this is a civil servant. Why? Because of the frugal way he manages his income. A civil servant lived on his monthly earning. That was when we used to see civil, they used to make fun of them, okay? Ndiolo Yibo, you know. Now, they will take a tuber of yam and use ruler to measure, just the quantity that the family needs, at that time. Why? Because they wanted to be sure that they lived within their means, within their income. But what do we have today? 40–50% of the real estate in Abuja are owned by civil servants. 40–50% of children studying abroad are children of civil servants, paying money in millions of dollars. Now, that is corruption. And the bitterest part of it is that there is no consequence for corruption in this country as at today.
And that is now reflecting even to the downtrodden.
So how would you now, let me also tell you where this started. The civil servant was beginning to see the politician, the political head, as an oppressor. We do all the work, you cut away all the money, and there's no consequence. We are the ones helping you to cover your tracks. We have the books. We are the ones that will produce the reports. But you take all the money, and you don't even give us part of it. Okay, now, from tomorrow, okay, you take your share, I take my share. If not, everybody goes home. So, and that was how these things began to, develop. Today, we are at a point where I don't know how we can get it right. However, somebody has said that if you have a leader who does not steal, and the family members don't steal, and people around him, friends and family, they don't steal, you would have cut corruption by half. I tend to agree, significantly with that position. So this is what is reflecting in the power sector. That is not, from the policy angle to the consumption angle, it's all the same everywhere.
So from policy to implementation is actually our major challenge. So that means we are not even...
From policy to implementation to consumption. There are all these gaps everywhere, and I believe that, or I want to hope that the new power minister, would have thought it through thoroughly to begin to identify where these challenges.
He said he has no power, the magic wand.
No, of course nobody does. Nobody does. All that he needs to do is to sit down and try to identify, as we have just done, some of these areas where he needs to, and then know where to tackle. He can only do so much. He has just about a year before
handing over to whoever
a new administration comes, to power. So do whatever you can. But even if all you have done is to leave a handover note that says, look, this is where the challenge is. Or these are where the challenges are, and please do this when you come in. If that is all, maybe set a technical group, study group, and then come up with a report, and let's see whether, but we have done that over and over. But then I know that some of these things can be dealt with. And government can also subsidize electricity. If they are subsidizing now, that's okay, but I don't believe that they are subsidizing for people in Band A.
Are you in Band A or Band B?
I am in Band A.
How are you feeling it? Are they fair to you?
No, they are not.
Are you having the electricity? I think they said 21 hours.
20 hours.
20 hours. Are you having that 20
sir.
hours?
No,
you
sir.
are not having that 20
sir.
hours.
That maybe in the first few days of that Band A, delineation, we probably had 16 to 18 hours, and then it suddenly collapsed. All right?
And you are still paying that amount.
And you still pay that amount.
Do you complain? Did you complain?
Why will I not complain?
Who did you complain formally?
I don't do, maybe it's also formal, because I use their social media handle to complain.
And
they keep, dear customer, this, one flowery language or another, technical this, technical that, and all of that. And as in, look, we have a contract for crying out loud. And I can go to court to enforce that contract. Even though I don't have a copy of the contract, you just impose whatever you like on me. But it is in the public space that I'm supposed to get so.
Can you organize yourself to do that? Because when you do that, you're also saving some other Nigerians that cannot go to court.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Because, one is the cost of litigation, and you are going against maybe a company that is loaded, maybe it has more money than you, then you're also dealing with a judiciary that you cannot trust.
All right, so these are part of the challenges we are having in Nigeria. Yes. Thank you very much, Tochukwu Okorie, for sharing your insight on this issue. I believe we'll have you some other time on the show. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Many thanks for watching. Do stay tuned to KAFTAN TV for more updates. Also follow us on all our social medias and those displayed on the screen. I am Chukunalu, AK. Good night.
Week in Review is back with another thrilling edition on KAFTAN TV.
Har ila yau ka kalla zaka ga dai